We're still previewing every World Cup team in the run-up to the World Cup, and today we're looking at the presumptive favorite, Brazil, the top team in Group G that also features Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. But Brazil shouldn't have much of a problem with that, mainly because of the way they managed to qualify for this tournament, which was historically insane and impressive. Brazil became only the second team ever to qualify out of South America without losing a match. Weirdly enough, that also happened for Argentina in the same cycle because they drew one game against each other and the other one was canceled. So you're looking at the top of the table at the first two teams to ever get through South American qualifying unbeaten. But Brazil did it in particular style. For almost every team we've looked at in this series, qualifying for the World Cup has been a traumatic affair that often came down to the last match or two, one goal or two, that determines whether your nation gets a seat on the biggest table and the biggest prize in sport, or it doesn't. For Brazil, it just didn't happen. Brazil came out and won its first 9 matches in qualifying. It only played 17. Brazil won the first 9. And even after it finally stumbled in a draw against Colombia, it only registered 2 more draws against, of course, Argentina and Ecuador in a match that involved multiple red cards. It even managed to win the last 3 games, remarkably, 4-0 apiece. That's part of the reason Brazil managed a plus 35 goal difference in 17 matches in what is arguably the hardest qualifying section in the world. Their margin of success was so staggering, they qualified by almost as many points as other teams that made the World Cup got overall. Brazil was 21 points clear of even having to go into the playoff, and the team that went into the playoff, Peru, only had 24 points in the whole qualifying. Ecuador is going to the World Cup. It only got 26 points in qualifying. Brazil got 19 more in one less match. They played one less match. And you get to decide whether that is more impressive or the fact that they only allowed 5 goals in 17 matches. One of those is more impressive than the other. I don't know which. They're both very impressive. And it is a sign that the old bully might be back on the block, because Brazil is the only team ever that has made every World Cup that's ever been played. Since 1930, Brazil has qualified and participated in and managed to travel to and not been banned from every World Cup that's ever happened. As a result, Brazil, of course, has won 5. They've got more World Cups than anybody else, but as notable for Brazil, they win their World Cups in bunches, and there are signs. Because Brazil is going into its 22nd World Cup, but its 5 World Cup titles can actually fit in 2 separate runs that add up to just 7 World Cups. You see, from 1958 to 1970, there were 4 World Cups. Brazil won 3 of them. And then from 1994 to 2002, there were 3 World Cups, and Brazil won 2 of them and made the final in between 94 and 2002 that Brazil won. Then there's a lull, and then the run starts again. And Brazil is seemingly just coming out of that lull, because Brazil has only ever gone 5 World Cups without winning. That happened from 1974 to 1990. It also happened from 1930 to 1954. And it's now happened again from 2006 to now 2022. So if my reading of trends is exactly right, they are not going to win this one, but they're going to win in 2026. Still, hey, we're going to be doing a watch along for every match of the World Cup on our Twitch channel. Link is down in the description. See you there. Smooth eggs. And just for historical perspective, considering all of the numbers you've already heard in this series, if you have been watching this series, if not, if this is a series, welcome. Brazil has won 73 World Cup matches. There are precious few teams in the history of this competition that have even played 73 World Cup matches. Brazil has won 73. This team is undoubtedly the gold standard, at least of historical context. Just because I would be remiss not to bring it up, it's worth talking about the 2018 World Cup, where Brazil had a very similar group. Switzerland and Serbia were in the group, and Brazil topped it with 2 wins and a draw, the only draw coming against a Swiss team that seems to have the ability to almost beat anyone. Then Brazil beat Mexico and lost to Belgium, which was a very big surprise. But in all honesty, the Brazilian national team has been reeling since in 2014 they made the World Cup semifinal and lost to Germany 7-0, a result that is just incredibly hard to swallow, especially when you consider they were hosting the World Cup in 2014. There were crying children in the stand. But I mentioned trends. Brazil is trending back up because of their performance in the last 2 Copa Americas. The last time Brazil won the Copa America was in 2007. 1997. It was the end of them winning 4 of 5 Copa Americans, a stupendous run that frames their 3 straight trips to the World Cup final from 94 to 2002. Then quarterfinals, freaking group stage, the 2016 Copa America Centenario. But now Brazil is back. In 2019, Brazil won the whole thing. In 2021, Brazil made the final and lost to Argentina, which was last July and also conveniently the last loss Brazil has had in anything. To put your mind at ease, Brazil can beat Argentina. In the 2019 Copa America, Brazil beat Argentina in the semifinal en route to beating Peru in the final after surviving, of all teams, Paraguay on penalties in the quarterfinals. In the most recent Copa America, Brazil's defense was fantastic. It beat Chile and Peru 1-0 apiece before getting to the final. What's important to understand about Copa America is it's a brutal tournament with immense pressure that seems to have crumpled a certain generation of Brazilian players. And that generation, with the exception of Neymar and a few others, has now faded out of the national team in favor of Vinicius Jr. and players that seem inspired to bring Brazil back to its glory of 20 years ago or 50 years ago. When Brazil makes the title game multiple times in Copa America, it wins a World Cup. That has followed everywhere since 89 and 91, which led up to the 94 World Cup win. When Brazil makes the final multiple times in a row in Copa America, it's usually bad news for everybody playing at the World Cup, and that new generation is where we find our player to watch. I already said his name. Vinicius Jr. will be going to his first World Cup. Vinicius Jr. is a player that was highly touted as a wonder kid, bought by Real Madrid for more than 40 million when he was way younger than anybody should be bought for 40 million. I think he was like 16 when that offer went down. He finally makes his way over to Spain and for years seems like he's going to be a bust. In fact, even in 2020, 2021, he played 35 matches, had just 3 goals and 1 assist. And then all of a sudden, last year, everything clicks. All that talent and promise that Vinicius Jr. has had in the past, it comes through to the fore. He scores 17 goals in 35 matches in La Liga, 4 goals, 2 assists in 13 matches in the Champions League. And oh, by the way, Real Madrid wins the Champions League, and Vinicius Jr. scores the goal in the final. He starts this year, and he's already scored 10 goals in 19 games for arguably the best team in the world. And he's doing this all as somebody born in 2000. He's 22 years old, and he's already had this full career arc, it feels like. He now enters the World Cup as a player that has done it all on the club world stage, but now he's on the national world stage, the international world stage. And of course, if you want to become a legend of the game like a Ronaldo or a Messi, and you want to be considered arguably the best player in the world, you have to deliver at the World Cup a memorable moment or two. And Vinicius Jr. has just 1 goal in 16 Brazil appearances. But Tite, the coach, he does like Vinicius Jr., includes him in the lineup a lot, and Vinicius has proven he can deliver on the biggest stages the game has to offer. He just hasn't had the chance on this one yet, and if he becomes one of the best players in the world at this tournament, he very well could be carrying Brazil to a title. As we continue this series, we have the good fortune of Brazil having released its whole lineup, so breaking down what tactic they're going to use isn't any easier, because Tite seems to use a different tactic every single time Brazil plays. Just looking back at their past friendlies, their more recent matches in qualifying, they've used, oh, hold on, I gotta find it. They've used a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, a 4-2-2-2, a 4-4-2 that features Richarlison and Neymar up top, and a 4-4-2 that features Philippe Coutinho and Mateus Cunha up top. Tite's principle is not building a similar system that a team can continuously replicate to build familiarity in the national team. It's just not. This is Tite, by the way. He's the coach. He's a really good coach, the Brazilian national team, and he's aware of a simple fact. His team is more talented than basically anybody he's playing against. So he assembles a tactic that utilizes that talent anywhere. He basically puts a tactic together that he feels gives him the best chance to beat whoever he's playing. Whoever happens to end up on the field in that situation, great. He does have certain players that he prefers. Me studying the team selection over the course of qualifying, he loves Fabinho, the holding midfielder from Liverpool. He also loves Lucas Paqueta, who seems to work his way into attacking formations that include your Neymars, your Antonys, your Rafinhas, your Vinicius Juniors. Against all of the odds, 39-year-old Dani Alves was just selected for the World Cup, and that's not a surprise because he's been included in their friendly rosters. He's been playing in the friendlies. The defense always has Alisson in goal, and then the center backs are Eder Militao, Marquinhos, and Silva, as in that one, Thiago Silva from Chelsea, even though he's 38. And you might have noticed the name, but yes, Coutinho is very regular in this Brazilian side as well, which is all the better for Brazil. I suppose he was very good at the last World Cup, even though his career and club level has fallen off. Those are the players to look out for. I am honest with you when I say I have no idea how they're going to line up when they get to the World Cup or who exactly is going to be where. Neymar is going to be on the field for sure, and probably Vinicius Jr. and Marquinhos and Alisson. That's all I got. Their versatility is crazy. And I'll be honest with you, if it's not France, Brazil's winning this World Cup. They have no reason not to get out of this group, even though Serbia could throw a curveball in there. Switzerland's been fabulous recently. They're likely going to compete hardest with Brazil, but Brazil should get 9 points from this group. They should, absolutely. And then once they get into the knockouts, there is no team that I would feel comfortable picking ahead of Brazil. There is no team in the world that is in better form than Brazil right now. On pure talent, France is likely the only team that can match up position for position. Brazil's relative run of pain looks like it might be coming to a close with this World Cup, and the state religion of Brazil looks like it might finally be restored. Now, if you enjoyed this video, we have made a preview of every team in the World Cup, or at least we're working on it, releasing one a day, and that is the entire playlist. Wonderfully bingeable. You don't have to do anything the rest of the day, I promise. Just that. And then you just have knowledge beamed into your brain.